I'm Elex Michaelson. This week, the issues are impeachment and recall. Dramatic new videos of an insurrection in our capital emerge. Where does our country go from here? With us, the senator from California, Alex Padilla, one of 100 jurors in the impeachment case. Plus, the issue is the recall election for Governor Newsom looking increasingly likely. With us, some of the top journalists in California, Carla Marinucci of Politico, Doug Sovern of KCBS Radio. The issue is starts right now.
Broadcasting across California, California's only statewide political show. You're watching The Issue Is.
The images are harrowing and hard to watch. A mob of President Trump's supporters storming the Capitol for the key pieces of evidence in the impeachment trial of President Donald Trump. Welcome to The Issue Is. I'm Elex Michaelson. After this historic week, we're left to ponder, how did we get here and where do we go from here? Joining us now, one of only 2 jurors from California inside the room for that impeachment trial. Alex Padilla is the junior senator from California. Among the committees he's serving on, Budget, Judiciary, Environmental, Homeland Security. He's also the first Latino senator in California history. Senator Padilla, welcome back to The Issue Is.
Thank you, Alex. Good to be back. It's been a few weeks, but what a few weeks they've been. What a week this has been.
What a week this has been. Senator, before this trial even happened, you said that you were going to convict Donald Trump. After hearing the arguments, what's your main takeaway?
My main takeaway is I'm even more convinced, not just starting with the value proposition of nobody is above the law. And when you break the law, there must be consequences. You must be held accountable. Now seeing the evidence laid out by the House managers, to see the sequence of events, by the way, not just of January 6th, and connecting the dots directly between Trump's insightful rhetoric and the violence and fatalities that happened that day. But you can go back months, you can go back years. This was all fueled by conspiracy theories about election fraud that had no proof, no evidence. That's what we refer to as the big lie. And as far as his defense goes, they were in a tough spot because Trump's actions are clearly indefensible. They've done a horrible job. I'm more convinced now than ever that we need to convict.
But what they say is that Democrats have said some controversial things over the years, too. They urge people to fight. They say that Democrats have been hypocritical on all of this, that President Trump has free speech rights, and that this entire case itself is unconstitutional. What say you to that?
Okay. I heard their arguments clearly grasping at straws. When we're fighting for issues that we believe in, it depends on how you fight. You can fight through legislative efforts. You can fight through, political organizing and turning out the vote. Or as we saw on January 6th, that there are people that are took direct instructions from Donald Trump and turned to violence, came to Washington, D.C. at his invitation, targeted the United States Capitol at his direction, armed and ready. By the way, this is a big point from this week. They were not just targeting Democrats. This impeachment trial has not been about Democrats versus Republicans. They were coming after Congress. They were coming after Mike Pence. They were ready to hang Mike Pence. You heard him, not my words, their words. Yeah. This was an attack on Congress and an attack on our democracy.
We all got to watch this on TV, but you only get to see certain camera angles while this happens. You're actually in the room. You're able to watch the way that the Republicans respond to this, watch the way the Democrats respond to us. Paint a picture. As that video is playing, are people watching it? Are they on their phone doing Instagram stories? What is the feeling like actually in the room, and how did people process this information?
Yeah, look, maybe a little known rule about the United States Senate. No phones, no electronics allowed on the Senate floor. Look, there might have been a couple of exceptions here, somebody doodling, somebody reading the paper, but by and large, all week long, people have been riveted, especially during the presentations of the House managers. You could hear a pin drop. You can't help but feel how somber the environment is. Look, 97 of the 100 members of the Senate were in the chambers the day it happened, and we're only feet away from the insurrectionists as they were being escorted from chambers to a safer location. I think a lot of them seeing it for the first time, the side-by-side of what happened inside the chambers and the Capitol and what was going on outside as it was developing. So I can tell the trauma is still fresh for so many, but again, more convinced than ever. Clearly the link of what happened between Trump's rhetoric for months and years and the violent and fatal insurrection on January 6th.
All right, I want to get a couple other quick topics in there that really matter to people, because a lot of people are focused on impeachment, but a lot more people right now are focused on COVID relief. Can you commit to California voters that Democrats will pass that $2 trillion relief plan with or without Republican support by March? Should most people watching this right now be expecting a $1,400 check coming by April?
Look, the very reason we went through the process last week to set up our ability to move sooner rather than later on a significant COVID relief package was to be able to do it with 51 votes instead of 60. In an ideal world, we'd love for this to be bipartisan, but we're going to do it with or without Republicans because Americans need help now. Families that are struggling need help now. Small businesses that are trying to keep the doors open need help now. State and local governments providing critical services need help now. It's up to Republicans to decide to join us in this and make this bipartisan or continue to hold out.
All right, and last question for you. Back home in California, it's looking increasingly like your friend, the guy who appointed you, Governor Gavin Newsom, will face a recall election. What's your message to those who are not satisfied with his leadership?
Look, not paying attention to the recall effort right now. I guess we'll see if it indeed qualifies. Laser focus right now, not just on this impeachment trial, but providing urgent COVID relief for families who need it. And in my conversations with the governor, I know that's his top priority as well.
All right. Well, Senator Padilla, we appreciate you taking a moment to share your views. You've only been there for like a few weeks, and what a few weeks it has been. Thank you so much for coming on The Issue Is.
Thank you, Alex. See you again soon.
Coming up next, an all-star panel to weigh in on a big week in politics. Carla Marinucci of Politico and Doug Sovern of KCBS Radio standing by. Among our topics, the recall election of Governor Newsom, looking increasingly likely, his political strategy changing in a big way this week. We're going to break it all down. And as we go to break, a reminder to check out our website, theissueisshow.com. Send us an email as well, theissueis@foxtv.com. And our show, by the way, is now available through the streaming platform Tubi. It's a free platform. You can see all of our past shows. Just search for The Issue Is. Be right back.
The fastest way to open businesses permanently is to eliminate and end this pandemic.
This week, protesters chanting "Recall Newsom" as he spoke during an event in Fresno. The governor holding multiple press briefings around the state on a week when his poll numbers are plummeting. Quite a difference from when Politico's Carla Marinucci was on The Issue Is 10 months ago.
Governors are leading the way in this crisis. Newsom has really managed to shine all the way along. Newsom has kind of led the way.
How times can change, huh? For our all-star panel of the week, Carla Marinucci is back. She is Politico's senior writer in California, writes the daily California Politico playbook, which you should all subscribe to for free. Carla is also a veteran of the San Francisco Chronicle. Doug Sovern is with us for the very first time. He is the political reporter at KCBS Radio in the Bay Area. He's won more than 200 journalism awards. I don't know how you have storage for all that. And he's actually a rock star. More on that a little bit later on in the show. Welcome to you both. Doug, great to have you for the first time. Carla, though, as our veteran, let's start with you. 10 months ago when you were on, the governor had an 80% approval rating. Now it's closer to high 40s, low 50s. How real a threat is this recall petition, and how is the governor's strategy changing because of it?
Oh, Alex, it's real. I mean, it's becoming clearer every day that Californians better brace themselves for what's going to be a crazy political year. Look, Donald Trump is gone from Twitter. Social media needs something to fill that gap, and conservative media has been all over this, pushing this recall. Gavin Newsom has a target on his back. There's no question about it. And part of it is the pandemic, the anger over the pandemic. Businesses are angry. Moms and dads are angry over schools. And the vaccine rollout has been slow in California. All of this has helped fuel it. The Republican Party is now in it full. They put in $250,000 this week. Big names in the Republican Party, Newt Gingrich, Mike Huckabee, they're all getting involved. They see this as a chance to fire up the Republican grassroots in California. And Newsom's approval ratings, as you noted, have plummeted. So, yes, this is real, and we could know within 6 weeks whether this qualifies and is a real election that goes before voters this year.
And Doug, on Twitter, you're about as good a chronicler of the Newsom strategy as anybody. The strategy changed this week.
Well, thank you, Alex. Yeah, there's no question. I mean, Gavin Newsom has been pursuing sort of a Rose Garden strategy for many months, where maybe he has one news conference a week and it's remote, it's virtual, there's nobody in the room with him. This week, he had an event almost every day, I think 4 of the 5 days, and he allowed reporters to question him in person for the first time in a month, and last time that was the first time in many months. It's an entirely different strategy, and I don't think it's because we've been complaining on Twitter. I think it's because he saw Kevin Faulconer and then John Cox, who were going to run against him in the recall, come out, and he realized he's got to be more accessible, he's got to answer questions, he's got to be more forceful. So he's out there now in a way he wasn't before, and he's got to get out there and fight it, and he's starting to do that. I think a little late. I would have advised him to do this a long time ago, but they don't listen to me. But he's out there now, and you can see that shift, and he knows there's a real threat here.
If only they listened to you, maybe they would be in better shape. Let's talk for a moment. You brought him up, John Cox and Kevin Faulconer. This week, yeah. John Cox officially entered the race, although we all kind of knew that he was running. And in his first ad, he attacked his fellow Republican from San Diego, Kevin Faulconer. I spoke with Faulconer earlier this week about it. First, let's look at that ad.
San Diego Mayor Kevin Faulconer got the city to overpay for a high-rise riddled with asbestos. The deal enriched a big campaign donor.
Had enough of this? I'm John Cox. I'm a businessman, not a politician.
Look, John's been a perennial candidate, ran last time, run for a lot of other different offices and lost badly. So I'm not really too focused on him.
Doug, you interviewed John Cox on your podcast this week. You had Kevin Faulconer on your podcast last week. What do you make of their dynamic now and their chances?
Yeah, Cox knows he's got to get past Faulconer if he wants to get past Newsom. So he's taken him on, and, you know, he's running this I'm not a career politician, I'm a businessman thing. But the fact is, this is the 6th time he's run for office, at least, by my count. And he's lost every time. That's almost as many times as Faulconer or Newsom has ever run for office. So he may not have ever won, but he certainly made a life out of running for office as a politician, even though he claims to be a businessman.
Gavin Newsom won his last race against John Cox by 25 points. This is still a Democratic state. I mean, big picture, even if the recall qualifies, that's a tough thing to do, win as a Republican. Is it even possible?
Well, the thing is that if the recall qualifies, Alex, you're going to see Crazyville here when it comes to the number of candidates that come out. It only costs $4,000 to get on the ballot. The circus that was the recall in 2003, I think it's going to be magnified 20 times over this time because it's a national story and it's a big national state. And Gavin Newsom is one of the sort of rising stars in the Democratic Party. And the Republicans have a target on him.
Up next, the push to reopen California schools, the push back from some of California's teachers' unions. But first, we remember a Motown music legend.
All of my whole life through, I never loved no one but you.
Mary Wilson was a co-founder of the Supremes nearly 60 years ago. She, Diana Ross, Flo Ballard, and others would become the most successful female group ever with 12 #1 hits. Of course, none of those performances compare to this one with me.
Stop in the name of love before you break my heart. Think it all over.
It was an honor to interview her a few years ago. Mary Wilson was spunky, sultry, and supremely talented. She was 76 years old.
Someday we'll be together. Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Someday we'll be
Trying to learn online with Zoom is extremely difficult.
Some students, they don't have a safe space anymore.
This week, we spoke to California students who are frustrated they haven't been able to return for in-person classes. Frustration growing around the whole state, nearly 1 year since campuses closed. Back with our panel now, Carla Marinucci from Politico, Doug Sovern from KCBS Radio. Doug, let's start with you. In San Francisco, this is especially a bad issue.
You know, the larger issue, I mean, I'm a parent of 2 young kids in the Oakland schools. I wish they were back in person. Larger issue, of course, is the teachers union versus parents. I mean, not to make it monolithic, but mostly it's that most parents do want their kids back, and the districts would like to go back, but the teachers unions are just not willing to do it until they're sure it's safe. And without getting vaccinated, they're just not ready to go back. And there's only so much the governor can do, because, of course, this is an issue that's really controlled locally by the districts, by the unions, the individual cities and districts. And it's just a stalemate at the moment. And I don't see the kids going back. I mean, maybe they get back for the last month or 2 of this school year in person, but we may be talking about the fall before most kids are back in school. And it's really become a top issue statewide. And it's a frustrating one, I think, for Governor Newsom, because he doesn't really have the power to change it.
Well, and you know, the CDC this week offering new guidance suggesting that it is safe for the most part, if proper precautions are taken, for kids to go back to school, Carla. And you have this situation where the California Teachers Union, one of the most powerful organizations in the state politically, giving largely to Democrats, and now Democrats, including Newsom, potentially facing a recall because he hasn't able to come to a deal with the teachers union.
That's exactly right, Alex. And I mean, we're seeing the reopenings happening in big cities like New York and Chicago. The plans are there to send the kids back to school, but there are no clear timelines yet in Los Angeles, San Diego, San Francisco. And this is a problem. So at this point, yes, Newsom is between a rock and a hard place between these powerful teachers unions and parents who are begging him to reopen the schools. And this could be where his political future lies when it comes to that recall. Absolutely.
And it's becoming yet another example of the growing inequality in this state, where you do see some private schools that don't have the teachers unions going back. You do see some wealthier areas finding a way to get their kids back in school. And then you see some of the areas that really need it the most not having their kids in person for in-person learning. And I think that's growing, adding to the anger for all this as well. All right, up next, we're going to talk about could Congressman Adam Schiff soon become the Attorney General of California? Of course, he is one of the best known members of Congress. And Doug, you know, this is your first time on our show. We like to play music on this show. So we thought, why not play your music inspired by the pandemic?
Oh, I need your love, babe. Yes, you know it's true. I want to feel your love, babe, but I can't touch you.
Yeah, look at that. I mean, it's like the Beatles are back with you on the bass. Very nice. This was done at home, I think, during the pandemic.
Sure was.
So
some quarantine rock and roll there.
Yeah, well done. We'll be right back. More of the issue is after this.
6 feet away, I wish that I could hug you.
Are you lobbying for the job of California Attorney General? And if so, why?
Well, actually, right. This is the question that I have refused to comment on. I don't want to add to the public speculation about it. I'm going to keep my focus, much like the president, on trying to get this relief package done, trying to get COVID help out there, and I will let the press speculate as they will.
Okay, I hear a maybe there. But maybe that's my own thing. California's Congressman Adam Schiff reportedly pushing to replace California's Attorney General Xavier Becerra if Becerra is confirmed as Joe Biden's Secretary of Health and Human Services. Back with our panel this week, Carla Marinucci of Politico, Doug Sovern of KCBS. Carla, Politico has done reporting on this, and apparently Schiff not only wants to do this job, but he has a very high-profile backer.
That's right. He's got Nancy Pelosi in his camp. That is a very high profile and important backer. And look, I mean, when you're looking at these kind of appointments for Gavin Newsom, as he faces a recall, he has no room for error. He needs somebody who's battle tested, ready to hit the ground running, is not going to make mistakes. There are plenty of people lobbying for this job, and many communities, the LGBT community, the API community, African-American women, all of them lobbying for their own candidate. In the end, Adam Schiff, it looks like, has that Nancy Pelosi factor, but he's got some other things going for him that I think make him one of the very top contenders. First of all, he's massively popular with the Democratic base, well-known nationally, somebody who could push Gavin Newsom and California legislation and stand up legally for California. He's a huge party fundraiser. This guy's a great legal mind, a Harvard guy, knows the ropes, doesn't need hand-holding. And I think a major factor is could easily withstand a statewide re-election. Californians know him.
You know, I think if he weren't a white guy, he would have it in the bag. That's really the only thing that holds him back, that otherwise he'd be a slam dunk.
All right. Now it's time to have a little bit of fun. I want to take a moment for a few quick shout outs. First off, I want to wish a happy birthday to my dad, David Michaelson. He is a role model for me of kindness and consistency. I literally would not be in this job without him. I mean, literally would be in this job without him, but wouldn't be in this job without him. My dad shares a birthday, of course, with Abraham Lincoln and another iconic American, Doug Sovern, one of California's best political reporters, turning 30 years old today. Doug, happy birthday to you.
Thank you. I'm so happy to share it with your dad. I had no idea. Happy birthday to your dad. He looks like a really cool guy.
Yeah, and Carla, I know you and Doug have been friends for a very long time, and you have a lot of love for him.
Friends and competitors. You don't want to be up against a story with Doug Sovern. So, props to him. I love him.
Yeah. All right, and we had a little birthday music there, but we want to end with a little bit more music. This week we got the nominations for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Shaka Khan was nominated. So I Feel For You is now playing. Doug and Carla, this is where we get to dance it out. Thank you for being here. Thank you all for watching. See you next time on The Issue Is.
Thanks.